What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them, visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies? Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
I would say it was very lonely. My recollections really go back to, I think possibly when I was about 5 or 6. Can't remember much before that. But I felt quite a lonely life, very much a loner. And I found that also, as I was growing up and coming through the school years, I felt that quite often when I was at home I wanted to go to school, when I was at school I wanted to go home, so I seemed to always be in no man's land. Mixing with people was very difficult. I didn't find it very easy, not because I was difficult, but I think possibly the shyness, but also just a peculiar feeling of not being able to mix with these people as I found out as time has gone on. In today's world, I would say I can reflect on that much easier now, looking at situations of even standing in front of an audience of 500 or 600 people, I can actually feel lonely on the stage. So the loneliness actually is around me all the time. But when I connect, I just feel I'm with my family. I just feel then, I feel so connected, so happy. And I feel that that is very, very different to when I'm out in the real world, mixing with people. I do mix very well with people. I do a lot of networking, but I would say there definitely is a loneliness that sits deep inside me.
Sort of getting into your, well, actually, was it a Christian-based family that you were born into? Were they a spiritual-based family?
No, the family that I came up with, they weren't anyway religious, no religious connections in what they did. They were good people, but I found myself growing up with a mother and father, and now I would understand it better than I did then, that really, you know, once heard the black sheep of the family, but I would say I definitely felt alone with my family. I didn't feel a good connection. And I think that really reflects on me rather than on them. But they were very good people, but basically, no, I didn't seem to connect very well with them.
When did you start getting into spirituality?
It's interesting you should use the word spirituality. I mean, basically, I tried the religious route, and that was pretty disastrous. And that was only for a short period of time. I felt that I needed to be away from all of that. And I think when this all kicked off, which was about 30 years ago, I was in Aspen, Colorado then when it happened. I felt then was the time that I connected and felt very comfortable with it. I've been asked the question many times, did it feel strange? Was it difficult? No, it was actually very normal. And, you know, I felt that as I connected, it felt very warm and very loving in the connection itself. And I've worked my way through life now, I'm going to say unfortunately, maybe, or fortunately, away from religion and spirituality and all of the things that go with it, as I feel my connection is very deep-seated into universal energy and what the universal energy means to me.
So you talk about a connection there you had in Colorado. When explaining that, then is this a voice that you heard come to you, or what is it you're explaining happened in Colorado?
On this visit to Colorado, I was actually skiing up there in Aspen, and it all happened the second or third night that I was there, into the hot tub at the hotel, and I was with a business partner. We'd been skiing for the day, so we were just chilling out. And he's just getting out of the tub, and a lady came along with her two daughters and said, "Do you mind if I join you in the tub?" And I said, no problem. And when I saw her in the tub, she had her head to one side. Now, I never even thought it. It just came straight out of my mouth. I just said, "I think I can help you." She never questioned who I was. Was I a doctor? What was I? And I arranged to meet her in the lobby. My business partner just thought it was absolutely hilarious and wanted to see what was going on. He couldn't believe me because seeing me from a business background really couldn't understand what I was saying. And when I got back to the room, he approached me and he said, "So what made you say that?" And I said, "I didn't." He said, "But you did." I said, "But not knowingly did I say it. The words just came out of my mouth." And he said, "Well, I'm going to come and see this because I want to see what you're going to do." Well, the fact that she was in an awful lot of pain in her neck, I didn't know because I'd never done healing, never seen healing, didn't know anything about it. But it all felt fine. And she sat in the chair and I just put my hand on her neck. It was as if I was guided to put my hand or hands around her neck. Not, I might say, in a strangulation position. And I put my hands on her, took them away in about 10 minutes. Asked her to move her neck. Bearing in mind, I had no knowledge of any of this. This was just like an information that I was getting to do that and say it. And she said the pain has gone. The pain had totally gone. And she said to me, she said, that's absolutely amazing. And I said, but also I said, I feel there's something wrong with your throat. And then I put my hands on her throat and she said, yes, I had a major accident many years ago, which affected my vocal cords. And she said, you know, it's hampered me, she said, but for some reason, when you were helping me, I felt a warmth around that area, which I'd never felt before. And so that's when it started. And that whole week, people started to come to me and ask me for healing. And it was like, but I never said anything. I never told anybody. And she didn't, because she flew out the next morning. So it all seemed to be a bit strange, as if it was meant to be. And very interesting too. And then the following morning, I was in the lobby area, and the kitchen was, or the restaurant area was very close by. And I could hear this couple in there talking, two females. And one of them was saying, oh, well, I'm going back home today. I've got to go and see my sick child. My husband's staying on because I don't feel very well. Well, when they came out, the lady that I could hear the voice from, I just said to her the same words, I think I can help you. Again, no question who I was, what I was. And she sat in a chair. I put my hands on her head, and within a few minutes, 6, 7 minutes, maybe a bit longer, took my hands off and I said to her, and bearing in mind, I wasn't knowingly saying this, it was just, it came out of my mouth. I said, in half an hour, you're going to be fine. And she said, thank you very much, she said. I appreciate that. But I said, you know, you'll better go skiing in half an hour. No, she said, I'm going home to see my sick child. And then I could see her husband came in to meet her, and off they went. Now, it was very interesting because the whole of that day, I kept getting this message in my head, of which I told my business colleague, that I had to help this child. And we went skiing that day, came back, went into the hotel lodge, and asked the guy that was making the beds. I said, you know, the tall blonde lady that was here and the other guy, her husband, you know, is he still here? Because I knew he was staying on. I said, oh no, they're both checked out. The interesting scenario was that my business colleague said, well, you've got that all wrong, haven't you? And for him, it was a bit of a joke. And anyway, we went off that night to get something to eat. We ended up in one of the restaurants in the town. And just about when we were coming out, it was around about 9 o'clock. We had a huge dump of snow. It was very difficult to see out onto the sidewalk. So I was being careful of how I was going to put my footings because of the snow. And when I put my foot down and looked up to see where I was going, there the lady was standing right in front of me. And I said to her, what are you doing here? I know it sounded rather rude, but at the time it was just the moment of saying that. And I said to her, what happened? She said, I felt so good, she said, I decided to stay on. So I said, well, I'd like to see if I could help your child. And she said, no, you won't be able to help my daughter. She said she has autism. Now, I have to say I was ignorant to even know what autism was at that time. Being a businessman, I certainly wasn't a medical man. And I said to her, and this was the information that sort of seemed to come through me, here's my card. Please send me a photo of her and get her to put a name on the back of the photograph. And she said, you don't understand. She can't do that. I said, well, I'll leave it with you. And off we went. Now, we kept in communications during the course of the summer, and into the autumn, when eventually she asked me if I would like to go over to see other people there in Michigan. And that was, I believe, in the October-November time. And that's when it really started to get to work. Although I'd been giving healing to other people, that part of it kicked off, and I was to give a talk to about 5 or 6 parents of autistic children. Well, it ended up being 25 people. I was started at 8 o'clock, thinking I'd be finished about 8:30, just generally talking about myself and how this little experience had come along. And the interesting scenario was that the conversation went flat after I talked about everything, and I stood there for a few moments, and then that was the first time that this, I'm going to say a voice, it was just the way I naturally started to speak, but the words flowed very, very freely. And I started talking about greed. Now that would be interesting because most of the people that were there were millionaires plus. So I thought that would have gone down like a brick, but it didn't actually. And there were 3 ladies in that audience, in that group, which basically sobbed right through it. And I went on from 8 o'clock through to midnight. Quite an incredible talk, which got everybody stirred up. And it was from there on that I started working with autistic children. Quite phenomenal. Results were unbelievable. And if you know anything about autistic children, there is no real cure for it. But I was able to make the children quieter, help them to stop wetting the bed. They were calmer, more collective. And I would say that was a very good point for me to start with what I would say serious healing, which made a very big difference to my life. And I continued doing that and have done up to now, working with children with that disorder.
How did you progress what had happened there? How did you progress yourself to understand what you was going through?
Very interesting that many people have asked me, so how did you learn all this? How did you go progress? How did you go forward with it? In real terms, I didn't learn anything. Obviously, I've obviously learned a lot over the years with all the necessary code of conducts and things like that, and the proper way of the practice and what we should do in regards to rules and regulations and the government papers that are necessary for us to work. But as far as I was concerned, it was just a natural development of how it was happening. And the voice that I get is in me. People say, oh, do you have to switch on? Do you need to go and sit in a quiet room? And do you need to meditate? Well, I can't meditate at all. I don't, in any way do I need to connect, because I am connected. I never switch off. So, when I'm out and about and I meet someone, they might ask me a question, I give them an answer. It's spontaneous. So there's no lapse, there's no hesitation. The answers are there and they are direct. And so I can honestly say that I had no teacher, nor do I feel that I needed one, because I progressed in a fantastic way with just the connection of the universe working with me. And I have to say I'm extremely grateful and honoured that that has happened to me.
And is it so you hear your voice coming in when you do the visionary side? It's your own voice in your head coming through. It's not a separate, different sounding voice. It's your voice coming through. But would you say the voice is wise beyond comprehension sometimes in its thoughts?
Interestingly, when one tries to ascertain the voice, no, of course, it's not my voice, it's another voice. Very interestingly also, the fact that I am dyslexic, which makes life extremely difficult. But I'm able to stand up in front of hundreds of people on the stage and talk. And some of the words that are used, I have no idea what they mean. And when I'm talking to the audience, I get conversations that are beyond my belief. And always, in the early days, I used to doubt them. Now I don't. People say to me, you know, when you go onto the stage, do you prepare what you're going to say? Absolutely not. I walk on the stage, and probably the only thing I prepared is good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming. That's it. It's as if, to me, my feeling is that the audience is already read by the energy. So I don't have to do any work. Bit of a lazy way out, really. But it all comes through. And for me to be able to handle that is quite amazing. The strange thing is that whatever I say, whether it be on a one-to-one, whether it be in a group, or whether it be in a big audience, I don't remember anything that I've said. So the word confidential, it is confidential because I've completely forgotten it. But if you were to actually then question or bring up a question about the answer I've given you, then yes, I would remember that part because that's on the human side of it and not on the energy side of it. I would say with the healing, that became quite a natural phenomena because once you start healing one or two people, word gets around. So it's almost like networking. And then I was invited to dinner parties to give speeches and to give healing, quite often to those that weren't interested, but eventually they became interested because they could feel the energy. I was invited to all sorts of events of where the healings progressed, which then brought the people to me, including working in hospitals and so on. So quite an experience of how that built up over the years. But yes, you know, one could say, did I have any miracles? And I have to say to you, yes, I don't like to use the word miracle, but I can honestly say to you, you know, when someone comes in on crutches and they carry the crutches out in no pain, that's a miracle. When a lady came to see me in her 70s, she'd had a fall, her leg was in plaster Paris. We all know that plaster Paris is an insulator. And she was in a situation of having rheumatoid arthritis. And they told her in the hospital she would not be able to walk properly once the casting came off. She came to me for 2 or 3 times, which I gave her healing through the plaster of Paris. And she said, I can feel a huge heat inside my foot. When they took the casting off at the hospital, she was then offered some crutches, and she was that confident at 70 odd, saying, I don't think I need them. She got up and she walked normally. So, you know, I could tell you lots and lots of stories about miracles. I would like to say it's just fantastic healing, because that's what really, in many ways, keeps me to believe so much in what happens. You know, and I would always say that on a one-to-one with any client that walks in, to me, that person in front of me is A1 important. And if I can, in any way that I can help them, and in real terms, give them some better quality of life, to me, that's very important. And these people have had sometimes remarkable benefits from the healing, which sometimes just totally blows me away. Many times I've been asked, Have I compared myself to anybody else? No, I don't. I believe that a lot of people have got a lot of gifts. What they've got, what they do, I respect. What I do may be different. Being that the visionary side and the healing are linked together, in the teachings of the healing world, you are told to keep them separate. So whether they look at it as being a separate entity or energy, that one works for the healing and one works for the visionary side, for me, that isn't the case. It's all one. And it's developed that way. And I would say just a little bit of tweaking here and there, maybe. But I feel from the beginning, the healing's been extremely powerful. I think their communications, other than a few ropey startups in the very beginning, I'm just talking about just a few, 2 or 3. I get the feedback year on and year on that, you know, what you told me, that was absolutely right. Of course, I'm not 100% correct all the time, because, you know, I probably wouldn't be standing in front of this camera if I was. I would say that a very high percentage of the information I give is correct. But we have to remember one thing with information that comes through, and I like to use the word information. That works really well with me, sits very well. But as I say to everybody when they're in front of me, I always say, what I'm giving you in the way that the message comes across, or the information comes across, is the way you perceive it. You may perceive it in a different way in the way that it's given to you. And it may not be exactly what you want, because most people that come along and see me sit in front of me and they want to hear what they want to hear. And most times you don't hear what you want to hear. Now, I won't be giving you anything that's nasty. Don't discuss death or illness. If the message comes up, I suggest you go and see a doctor. That's about the best you're going to get on that side of it. But for me, the message is given to you in the way it's meant to be, and that's the way you have to perceive it. But you don't. You always think something's going to be better. Everyone's looking for the perfect reading with the perfect answers, you know, and how we're going to be in life. And, you know, I'm sure all of you know that life isn't like that. If we look at life in reality, life isn't like that. You know, and we can be sitting there, I can be sitting there in front of someone or even in front of an audience. And I say to them, you know, you've got to live for now. You've got to live for today. And that's important. And what do? We borrow from the past because we think the past has some good times and we want to remember those and we'd like to see those happen again. But as we know, you can't borrow from the past because the past is gone. But then we flip into the future and we try and borrow from the future. But the future is yet to come. And in many ways, not the way you perceive it. Yes, I mean, with the readings or the information that comes through, many, many, many times, yes, it does come true. Not always the way you want it, but you're very happy with the results. And of course, that's my job, is to give you the future, to see into the future for you, to tell you what's going to happen in the future. And it's a very interesting scenario. We often think that timing, you know, if you're given an approximation of, say, 3 years and something will happen in 3 years, we know whatever comes through from the universe, they don't always get it right on the timing. But timing is very important, of course, in the way we are. And sometimes we'll get some information that, you know, you're going to go and live in another country, or you're going to be working in another country, you might be living abroad or working in America or wherever it may be. And you say, I can't believe that. But of course, somewhere along the line, you change a job, you meet someone else, things happen, and you end up in that country, which you didn't think would ever happen. And so I always say to my clients, just have an open mind. Don't shut the book on it, because you really don't know. You don't want to shut it out. But just be positive with life. Live for now. Don't borrow from the past, because you can't repeat the past. If you'd fallen in love with someone 10 years ago and you want to meet them again, they're not going to be the same. Because they're not going to be the same person, because they would have grown and developed. You have grown and developed. And therefore the scenario cannot be that what it was 10 years ago is going to be today. So you have to move on. But being honest to yourself, and the most important thing is believing in yourself, and live for now, for where you are in this world at the moment. Not borrowing from the past or from the future, but being realistic with what you have and where you are now. So we go back now about 7 or 8 years ago, when I decided that this was all becoming extremely difficult, because I've been running the business, and I was running the healing and the visionary side in parallel to the business, but I found it about 8 years ago, it became all too much for me. Trying to manage a business and trying to go off and doing the other side did become extremely difficult. So that was a decision at that point to break away and make it happen with the healing and visionary side, of which I have no regrets. I wouldn't say it was easy. It certainly wasn't that. And starting up, using it like a business, which is what I had to do, time has proven many, many times over and over that working and consolidating my efforts into it has proved to be extremely fruitful, not in terms of just money, but being able to help so many people, giving them the quality of life back, which no matter how small it is, whether it's only 5 or 10%, that's very important. That's very, very important. And some of the clients that come to see me are basically at the end of not being able to go any further, because the doctors and the medical profession just can't help them anymore. So they come to me for help. I don't knock any of the professions, absolutely none of them. I work alongside with doctors. Pharmaceutical companies, they certainly have their place in the world, and it's not my position to turn around and say what you should and shouldn't take, not my position to say what you should and shouldn't do. Your doctor's in full control, and whatever you're being given in medication, you should continue to do it. I'm just there to enhance it, improve it, and let's hope make it possible for you to change your life and get the quality of life. So that's very important for me to work on those bases. I'm extremely lucky now, because I sit in what many people call the crown of London, which is in Knightsbridge. It's a very prestigious building, and I have rooms here. And it allows me to make contact with a lot of people that I didn't have before. It's a very central position, and probably I don't really know many other people that have this sort of location, but it has made quite a big difference to me in being able to reach a lot more people. So many people say to me, what are your client base like? Well, of course, difficult to talk about it, because obviously my client base is confidential. Now, there are people that are very happy to tell their story. And many have, hundreds in fact. On the website I do have stories, real life stories, that the clients have decided they would like to tell. And right across Europe and America, those stories have come forward. Yes, I do have a lot of celebrities, people in very high places, but I also have normal people, ordinary people. But likewise, I also have business people. Some of them very big people in business. And they come for advice on how they want to move forward with their business, how they want it to grow. And I can remember a meeting last year with one very big company. And they got a branch. They were based in London. They got branches around the world, but one branch in particular was in Australia. And they found that branch was failing. I was able to better sit in that boardroom and give them all the information on the person that was running that particular country and give them a breakdown of what they needed to do and how they needed to change it. So that was very, very important. And some of the advice that I give, and I have to say in the early days was quite scary, but nowadays I'm used to it. We can be talking millions. When people want to move forward with their business, we're not talking about 1 million or 2 million. We're talking about a lot of millions. So I have to be as accurate as possible on that information I give. Character analysis has always amazed people that I'm able, and it does amaze me, it astounds me actually, that people will just come along and say, what about Mrs. Brown down the road? What's she like? Or what about Uncle Ernie? What's he like? They're the basic ones. But when you're dealing with business and you want to know what your business colleagues are up to, or you want to know about them, within reason, I can give that information of a character analysis. So that's very, very easy. A lot of people come to me if they're just going into a meeting, maybe with the bank, maybe with financial company, and maybe just another business contact where they want to expand or grow. And they will ask me questions about that. And it may not necessarily be in this country, it can certainly be in Europe or anywhere in the world. And that information flows through. I don't know too many people that deal with the business world. I do know one lady in New York who's very similar on that side of it with me. And when you're working with corporate companies and big companies, that's quite something to deal with. But also, of course, it's very interesting. Many people have asked me, are you a psychic? Are you a channeler? Are you a medium? Well, no, I can't say I'm any of them really. If you want me to put my hand on my heart, I can honestly say to you that a visionary is a visionary. It's a person that sees into the future. Is the information channeled? Difficult to say because the voice is in me all the time. So I don't have to sit down and bring that voice to me. So I don't have to channel it. As I've said, I love to use the word information. I get information. It's not intuition because it's very clear, very crisp, the information I get. And of course, when I'm giving that information, many times, if not all of the time, I'm actually not in the picture. The information just comes through me and I speak normally. I was asked a little while ago, do I close my eyes? Well, yes, in the early days, I had to focus to really make sure it wasn't me thinking or whether it was the voice that was coming to me. So, am I a psychic? I don't know. I'm not a medium. I don't deal with the dead. A lot of people doing that and doing it very well. I would just say that I bring through information and the visionary sits more comfortably with me. The psychic just puts all sorts of connotations on it. And you couldn't walk into a business, a high-powered business meeting and say, I'm a psychic. That wouldn't work. Am I a channeler? I'm channeling this information. Oh, hang on. Business people don't want to hear that. They want to know that actually you're giving them information, knowledge. And they know that because someone else has said, you ought to use this guy. He brings through some very good information. So maybe we've got a little gap with a name or a tag that hasn't been used many times. And I really do feel that that's the tag that I've got, which is someone that gives information. And the visionary part is of going into the future. So it's bringing the future into it. but it's really bringing through information. I know everybody wants to put a tag on it. They all want to call me a channeler or a psychic, but you know, that's fine in many cases, but when you're dealing with businesses, you wouldn't get away with it.
So when you're dealing with businesses, they know you as a visionary though?
They know me as a visionary in businesses because that's what's on the card. That's what they brought me in for. They want a vision of the future. They want a vision of whether they're going to have expansion, contraction, whether they're going to improve their business, take on more businesses, how the finances are, where their investments are. These are all the things that a visionary can bring through. And that's exactly what I do, is information on a vision for the future. Been asked many times whether the voice is separate, whether I'm separate from the voice, but I would say no. I'm part of it. I am it. That's quite something to say, that I am it, because I'm always cold, summer or winter. The coldness runs right down through the back, completely. So I'm always needing heat around me. I would say that yes, there is that expression of someone walking over your grave. That happens quite often when I'm healing and giving sick people some help. Not because they're in a point of death, but in a point of young children and elderly people that need extra help. Dealing with a lot of cancer people, you know, they need a lot of help and support, and that comes through too. So I would say that, you know, I am it. Quite brave to stand there and say that. Many people, in fact, lots of people have said, oh, well, we think you're an alien. Well, yeah, I probably am. I can't deny it. I do feel I'm different, but I don't like to talk about being different. I certainly mix well with people. I don't talk about it unless anybody asks me. I'm a normal person as far as I know, but probably I'm not a normal person. I probably am an alien. Yeah, probably I am. But it doesn't bother me one little bit. Not at all. So the healing part of the work I do can vary a little bit. I mean, obviously I get people saying to me, well, you know, I'm sick in bed and I'm halfway across the world. Can you send me some healing? And of course I say, yeah, I'll send the energy across tonight. And yes, it's come back to me many times. Yes, I could feel that. And I only have to ask for that once and it will be dealt with, and it will continue to do so. When I'm dealing with you as a client on a medical couch, I put my hands on your shoulders and then to the head. We have to remember that sometimes with pain, it can work from the brain, not always from the physical body. So it's important that both of those are healed at the same time. If someone comes in with a lower back pain, then I would work on the spine as well, from the top to the bottom. Bearing in mind, I do no manipulation. I literally just lay my hands on that person. What do they feel? Well, some people feel a lot of heat. Some people, if not a lot of people, more people feel the coldness that comes off my hands. Some feel a tingling, but whatever it is they feel, they know that energy is flowing through. But we're looking for the results at the end of the day. I'm not really interested when someone says, oh, I could feel your hands were very hot or very cold. I'm not really interested in that. I want that person to get off the couch, stand up and say, okay, now how's that back? And that's when they say the pain is gone. And that's what we're looking at. Not just the back. I'm just taking the back as a very simple situation. So the healing is very simple. No bells, whistles, flutes, nothing at all. Just straightforward, hands-on. Many times people have said to me, oh, well, how do you ground yourself? Well, yes, in the code of conduct and so on and so forth, it does say that you should ground yourself. I don't need to do that myself personally, because I don't have that problem. I know I'm very well looked after. And so therefore, if I'm on a ski lift or I'm in a plane, I'm healing people and do it all the time. So grounding there doesn't really balance that one out. But that doesn't say that other healers shouldn't do it, because they should. If that's what they've been taught and they feel comfortable with it, they should do that. I don't want to knock anybody in what they do, because everybody plays a part in this world in helping others, and that's so important. So for myself, yes, that's the way I work, and for me it works extremely well.
Are you present when you're healing, or are you in the back seat?
People say to me when they're laying on the couch, oh, did you get any messages? Did you get any feeling that you needed to do something else? And you see, I have to make myself very clear of allowing that energy to flow through me. So my thoughts, my feelings come out of it completely. I play no part in it. So why would I get a message? Why would I be getting told what to do? I do, in many cases, get a situation where I need to go to somewhere else to the body, maybe an arm or a shoulder or something like that, which the client hasn't mentioned. And then I say to the client, is this okay if I touch you on the shoulder or I touch you on the elbow? I just feel I need to do that. And then they say, oh yes, I had an accident some years ago and that upset my elbow or my shoulder. So yes, looking deeply into the healing of today is, people say, what do you heal the most of? And the most of all is stress. And stress can play all sorts of different parts in your life. Very sadly, I've been helping a lot of people with cancer, because cancer, where the medical profession can do so much and then they can't do any more, I can give those people some support. Can't do a cure, don't ever think of a cure, but I always like to think that I can help people. And I would say, other than that, the stress factor, which I can be quite open about, can be anything from anxiety, headaches, migraine, and so on. We look at the soul as being an energy factor of your continuous work within the universe. The soul is what leaves you on your departure from this world into the next. The soul carries its memories, its successes, and its hardship. But that is what helps us to be who we are. And that is the way that we move forward into the universe for whatever place we are meant to go. Is it a different level? Is it a different vibration? Is it different for each person? You've all come onto this planet for one reason or another, to fulfill a part of progress for the next world. So therefore your experiences here will dominate the position you'll be in when you join the other side. Saying that, it doesn't mean that you have to be a good person and do no wrong or no bad, but your experiences are marked in a different way. You are human, and that's understood from where we are in the universe. We see each and every one of you in a different way. It comes down to you in what you want to do with your life and where you want to go with it. Is it seen that you've come back from where you were before on the planet and didn't fulfill your tasks? Is not the way we see it. You could almost say you only get one bite of the apple. You come here, you do what you feel you want to do, and you move on. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule. And that exception is people like Douglas that have been, I would say, controlled, maybe, protected, maybe, helped, maybe, but really a representative of where we are, to try and give you an insight to what the universe has to offer when you eventually step over that line. Each and every one of you will do that. Whatever age you are, from young or old, you will step over that line. Is there a hell? Is there a heaven? No, we don't see any of that. You have done what you need to do on this planet, and you move on. Will you have regrets? No. The soul doesn't work like that. I'd like to put the soul in perspective of an energy. That's what you are. That's how you move. Soul sounds pretty good over here. So does the heart. But you know, you have a saying in your country, even in your world, what goes around comes around. And that really is very much how it will be when you join us. Whatever you've done on your planet will come around when you join us. Whether it will be good or whether it will be, and I'm going to use the word indifferent, that will be the case. Will you suffer? No, we don't believe in that. But basically, you'll see which way you're meant to go. Will you move on? And at what speed will you move on? But somewhere along the line, you must have a point of paying back what you didn't give when you had the opportunities on this planet. The opportunities that you had from the day of birth does in many ways depend upon your upbringing, your family background, and the opportunities and chances that were laid in front of you. Coming from a very poor background would have made life very difficult for you. But having the belief in where you feel life will take you and the honesty that you play within your life will help you. Those of you who have had a good upbringing and plenty of opportunities may in many, many cases abused what was given to you. Some of you that have had a good upbringing have gone out there and done wonderful things to help wonderful people. So everybody is of a mixed bag, as one might say. It really comes down to you in what you do on this planet. And if you get the message that you should move on in this planet, believe in yourself, and be honest with other people, that really is the magic words. Believing in yourself and being honest. And that in the self, you will help other people. If you've been cruel to other people in this life, Why should you have the same status when you move over? When you've wanted to help so many people and you've done the best you can within the parameters or the framework that you have available to you, that in itself must be governed as being worthy of consideration when you join us. But I don't want you to think of heaven and hell. I don't want you to think of evil. I don't want you to think like that at all. Negative and positive is not what we use. We look at every single energy as it comes over on its own merits. And yes, there are some of you over here which are selected to do work, but you're there to help others. And that's what we want. We want helpers here. We can't do it ourselves, so we have to use you humans to do it for us. We want you to help others one way or another. It may only be in word, and that's enough just to help those people. It's not an easy life for you down here. The planet is a very difficult planet. We know where your planet is going, and it's not looking good. It's not going to happen this year or next year, many, many years' time. But there is a crumbling around the edges of the planet, which is very, very difficult for us to be able to contain and work with. But we're hoping to save your planet. But most importantly of all of those that are on the planet now, we're hoping that we can save all of you and make life very, very different for the future. Yes, I mean, you ask who is talking through me, and it's the energy that talks through me. You know, there's no great God or no great gift of anything that was coming through. It's just an energy which works through me. I do feel that it has a slant on ancient Egypt, because really that sort of seems to ring very well with me. I do feel maybe there was something there, but I don't want to put titles. I don't want to put badges on them. It's basically an energy. We see the sun and it has an energy, and I just feel that what I'm getting is an energy. Am I bothered? Am I really bothered in what this energy might be? What it might look like? Why would I need to know that? I don't need to know that. I just know what the energy is doing is absolutely phenomenal. The fact that it can talk through me, the fact that it can help thousands of people, and I mean thousands of people that I've helped over the years, that in itself is some awesome and powerful energy. How can you quantify it? Yes, you can research it. Yes, you can put tests on it. But you know, are we dealing with an intelligent energy way above our understanding? I think we are. The question that's asked many times is, where is this planet going? What can we do as an energy here to help it? You know, you all get the opportunity to make a difference. There are a lot of poor countries out there. There are a lot of people dying. There's a lot of war out there. But most of all, there's a lot of ego out there. A lot of people have a lot of ego. And there's a lot of people out there that just only think about money and possessions and materialistic things of their lives, and cannot see the true fact of what your planet stands for. Is your planet depleting? Absolutely. Year by year, it depletes a little more and a little more. Where would you like to see your planet go? You probably never even think about it. And if you do think about it, is what is somebody else doing about it? What are you doing about it? That's the most important thing. If you ask Douglas the question, what is he doing about it? He's helping those people that need help, to a degree. He's not a miracle worker, and he certainly isn't a person that can give all the answers, because we can't give him all the answers. We can only give him some of the answers because we have problems with your race, because they seem to have their own method of going forward. Yes, every single person within reason has their destiny set. They can change that destiny marginally, but normally end up where they're meant to be. You could abuse life, and yes, you could change your destiny. And just touching on a lighter note of that, maybe a heavier note of that, that if you're into drugs, if you're into alcohol, smoking, obesity, then that has to change your destiny of when it was first set, and that was set when you came onto this planet. If you have that understanding, you can make those changes. But of course, you see the planet as it is, and you want to live it. There's nothing wrong in that. But of course, you have to stand up at the end of the day to the consequences of where you've ended up and where you really want to be. And yes, it's not necessary that everybody lives their full life. Expectancy on this planet could be 80, say. Let's just take a very rough figure. But maybe that's a situation where you're quite happy. It's not so happy when you die in your 40s and your 50s because you leave those loved ones behind. Could you have improved that? Would that make a difference? Sometimes your destiny is only set at that time clock of when that is when it comes to an end. Not always what you've done. But what can you do to change this planet? It needs a lot of people to change your planet now, because your planet is in a downward spiral. What I would say to you is that your planet needs help. And the only way to get that help is through realization of where you are and what you're doing. It's very, very important that you look at life as it is and give help to those that need it. Believe in yourself and talk to other people of what they can achieve by changing how they are as a person. You know, it's very simple, because when you read the scriptures and the Bibles, they all tell you about love and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. In real terms, do you do it? You've all heard it. Somewhere along the line, you've heard it. But we stand back, and I'm not knocking any of your beliefs. We stand back and say, okay, we are the energy that's out there, whatever name or brand you want to put on us. But we want you to understand where your future will be once you pass over that white line. We often look at this life on this planet of yours, that could we change it? Well, yes, you can. But to change it means you have to believe in it. You have to believe in yourself that things are possible. Self-belief is probably one of the hardest things anybody can ever do. Have you been here before? Well, I'm sorry to say we don't believe that. We don't believe you've been here before. And I know that a lot of people will say, no, we don't agree with you. And that is absolutely fine. The purpose of coming back is what? You know, there's no reason why you can't get it right first time. But saying that, and please put it in perspective of an energy rather than a human, because you say, well, was I here before? Well, what were you here as? A person, an animal? What was you here as? Will that make any difference to what you are now? And will you come back? Well, that's putting a fear in you, because maybe you don't want to come back. So maybe you should be looking at what you have and what you can do with it. And anybody that is watching this film and feels, what can I do to make a difference? Is to believe in yourself, to understand that the universe is all and everything. It can be what you would like it to be by asking the question. You need to talk to us. Some of you will get the answers. Some of you will get those answers through intuition. Some of you will get them through action. But most importantly of all, you will get an answer one way or the other, because that means you're connecting to us, the energy, which is basically saying you want to be part of us. Will that change your life? Yes, it most certainly will change your life. Because we'll understand that what you want is to be part of us, so that as you grow on this planet and end up with us eventually, you have made a great effort one way or the other. Yes, it's easy to say, oh, I'll do whatever I think they want me to do. You have to listen to what we want you to do. You have to respect what we are. You cannot use us as a flippant throwaway toy. It's for life. Once you make that decision, it's for life. We're not asking you to believe in anything other than yourself and the universe and the power that it holds within itself. How powerful are we? The universal energy is beyond any of your imagination. Could it be explained? Absolutely not. You have no idea of its awesome power in what it stands for and what it can do. You are in one little tiny corner of the universe. The universe is so powerful and so awesome that to be anywhere near it, you would not be able to handle it. And that's why it's important what you do on this planet in believing in yourself. And by believing in yourself, people say, well, what does that mean, believing in yourself? Believing in yourself gives you the inner strength and satisfaction that you can do more. It may be that you keep it as a hidden secret. Not always easy to explain it to other people. But the thing is, once you get that connection, that inner belief, you will have a better understanding. Many times I've said, if you walk down any street in the world today, do you ever see people smiling? They all seem to carry a burden on their shoulders. Having belief within yourself that everything will be okay, whatever happens, and having the belief that you can play a part in this world, you will be given those opportunities, one way or another, large or small, whatever it may be, to help the world improve. Unfortunately, your world has gone far beyond a worldly change. It can only be an individual change and to help just a few at a time on your planet. And do I need to explain to you what I mean by that? Because if you look at the world today, in 2017, can you honestly say it's in good condition? I would say it would be the opposite. Can you say that there is fear in the hearts and souls of the humans on this planet? Yes, there are. Not all, but there are. Some people can't even talk about the future. They can only talk about today and tomorrow. Beyond that becomes a great fear, a situation of not being able to cope with what's in front of them. But if they believe, and if they talk to those that believe, there are many people like me out there in the world who need help. I'm putting that across as me being Douglas, because Douglas is me and me is Douglas. There are many, many like him out there that you can go to. Maybe different levels, maybe with different ideas, maybe different situations. None of you are the same. To put that into context, DNA. There's no two DNAs the same. So how can there be two souls the same? How can there be two people doing the same thing? There can't be. You all have to be different. You can't run in parallel. If you have twins, if you're in a twin of a twin, yeah, in many cases you're similar. But you're not identical in the fact that every single thing is exactly the same, from the same food that you eat, for the same sleep that you sleep, and for the same education that you acquire through life and knowledge. Everything has a small change or ability to it that is different. So if you want to change part of your life, if not all of your life, believe in that there are changes, believe that you can make a difference, and make it happen. I'm sorry to say it's too late to change the world, but I won't say that it's too late to change maybe the speed of the change of the world. Because people need support, people need help, and therefore it's down to you to make that happen. And try and understand where they are, the fear that they're carrying, and the help they need. The question of saying, is it possible to do what I do, is a difficult answer, because explaining that our DNA is different, so therefore our soul is different in the way that we travel. But you can all make a connection, and it's possible for everyone to make that happen, so that they do, in one way or another, get connected with us, the universe. I'm sorry I'm flipping between us and Douglas, because it's very difficult sometimes to define the both of us, because we are one. But it's not difficult to say to you that all things are possible. It doesn't mean it will be the same, and it won't. What it does mean is that you can make a connection with us, and we will help you in every possible way for you to see that. Now, what you have to remember is you can't just switch into it. It's not a switch, because each and every one of you has baggage. Baggage can be something that you've had for a few years or many years. That will reflect in your progress of change. It cannot be a switching point of today I want to be with the energy and I want everything to happen. Can you study it? No, you can't. You have to have that belief. You have to be able to switch into that thought of belief that you want to be so much connected to the universe that it plays a very big part in your life. Now, that doesn't stop you working. It doesn't stop you having a family, and it certainly doesn't stop you living your life. But you can change the way you live your life in what you have as a belief. Is there a side effect, which is something many people say to me? Yes, there is. There is a big side effect, and that is loneliness. Because many people will see you in a different light and stand back from you. You have to be careful how you talk about it. It's not a secret, but you have to be careful because a lot of people don't believe in what you may believe. And so, is there a difficult point of change? Yes, there is. Because people won't believe what you're saying. And people want to know you because you're different. You're not the old person they knew years ago. Douglas can tell you many times of all the friends that he's had in the past that were 30, 40 years ago, how they've all stepped back. They're still friendly, but they're not close. Is there anybody close to him? No. They're close to a degree, but they're not as close as he is to us. Something not easy to explain or accept, but just depends on how far you want to go. It doesn't mean you lead a lonely life. You lead a different life. A very different life. Because you might ask, why is that a different life? Because it's not tangible. You can't see that energy. You can feel it. And how do you feel it? Well, let's put it in perspective. It's like the wind. You can't see the wind, but you can feel it. And that's the energy. That's what we're all about. Will it change your life? Yes, it will. Do you want to change your life? Yes, you can. It doesn't mean that you have to become an alien. What it means is you become a better person. And that is down to you. So, what can you do as a person? And I'm not just sitting in front of 2 or 3 people. I'm giving this message to thousands around the world. What can you do? It doesn't mean that you're going to be the same as me. It doesn't mean that you're going to be the same as a lot of others out there that are doing this work the same as I am. But you can play your part. You can make it happen. Having that self-belief. But go to bed. And when you go to bed, talk to us. We do listen, believe it or not. We listen to what you say. Obviously, we can only give you what you need and not what you want. And that's a very big difference. What you want is very different to what you're going to need. And what you need is what we would like you to have so that we can help and support you. It doesn't take away the problems of the world. It doesn't take away anything that you have. But by talking to us, it'll give you a different perspective on life and what you can do with the time that you have left on this planet.